What you're going to see is an hour plus trimmed down from about 2 hours of me working through this idea. If you hang in there, there's a lot of little details, how to build with Bolt and Supabase, and then build an agentic backend, a truly foundational agentic backend for any application. And it's just the start. I would love to spend another 2 hours on this. I think after a day, we could make it to be really nice in the UI and in the backend. We're going to experience a lot of different functionality. We're going to do an agent that knows how to use tools that know how to use other tools because they themselves are agents or AI. They have then research tools like Tavily so they can search the web. And we're eventually going to make artifacts, which are like reports or leads and other type of artifacts that we can then use later on. It's a hub. It's something I'm building somewhere else, but I wanted to bring it here in a more generic form to start showing these building patterns. Could I have prompted this with AI and just built it in Lovable or Bolt, all of it in all the back-end complexity I'm going to show you? I don't think so. Maybe in Cursor, maybe after a lot of time, and just like once the complexity increases, things don't break as much because I'm putting them in N8N. I'm leaving Supabase to be the bridge between the front and the back using events. So it's a very solid pattern. This works. I've been using it on many different projects. Some of them look way better than this, but they got 2 or 3 days of my attention. This one got 2 hours. But I am going to keep working on this, and I'll keep showing you in ongoing videos because I'm going to start bringing in more of these features like agentic prompts where I can say, now make this something that reminds me every day. Now make this something that can do this type of research and email somebody. I want to just show you how we can go from prompting to done and to schedule tasks and other things with these patterns. And it's a lot of details, a lot of slow stuff, a lot of me fumbling around, but that's okay because you're going to learn how to build at a level, not a level, at the level of detail that you don't get out of a lot of videos. So hang in there. JSON, structure, little things with N8N that can be tricky. Bolt, Supabase. I have a few problems here and there that I never have until I record. So you'll just see a lot of the ins and outs of how I work through things and make things happen. Again, this works. I build over and over again, and there's so many ways to do this stuff. This isn't the only way. I'm just saying this can work. Building solid applications that can have a nice UI, better than this, can have a strong agentic backend, but also non-AI backend, because you'll be doing all this other stuff without AI. I just happen to lean on it here because there's a lot of tool stuff I want to happen, and you'll see that. Okay, if you make it through it, great. It's worth it, I think, to learn a lot if you're new at this, or if you just want to take that next level in N8N, and just overall these building patterns. I even deploy it, Coolify, so you get to see that in action too. All right, enjoy. All right, in a recent video, and this will be a deep dive, so hang in there, I talked about 3 ways or 3 patterns to build an application. There's so many ways to do this stuff, and it keeps changing as well and maturing. I talked about Bolt or Lovable. I talked about how to use Supabase to keep that particular combination simple and basically so you can keep building on it without it getting fragile. And then how we can use N8N and or active pieces to move the complex logic into the back end, connecting it with Supabase. So, and again, there's so many ways to do this. And I think the tricky part is, what are you building? Is it a script? Is it a simple one-off thing? Is it a marketing page? Is it a complex application? Is it internal? Is it external? There's a lot of things to consider. This particular pattern seems to work well on applications that you want reactivity or complexity, and it can have authentication. It doesn't have to. Here's another silly one I made recently. In this one, the person can upload a photo of that they have of a pet. Obviously, it doesn't look to see if it's a pet. And then it can generate something from that particular image. So I think I chose a good image. Yeah, okay. So my point is this, this is the same pattern over and over again. Use Bolt to say, hey, let the person upload an image to Supabase, write a row to Supabase, wait for the content or the data to be done by looking at the row in the table. So it's very much about table-driven or event-driven type interfaces. So for that guy there, And it's good to me to show you this because you can see how simple it really is. There's two tables. One is for payments, right? And this one table basically gets written to by that front end, and it says, okay, I'm going to have a status of pending. I'm going to wait for this to be done. And so all we had to do with Bolt is say, make a nice UI, no need to authenticate, and then upload the image to Supabase, save it to a row, mark it as pending. And then from there, I let N8N do all the complexity. So at this point, and again, I can now have Stripe because Bolt happened to do all that for me. And I've built a lot of applications, some with authentication as well, and that's what we're going to do today. So today we're going to build a classic, but I need to build it anyways, a lead generation or a lead dashboard. I know there's 100 of them out there, but this pattern will help make it in a way that I think will be more flexible. It's going to be such a classic pattern of just chat, where you enter your chat, and let me turn this to laser pointer, where you just enter your message, like go look for me about information about this industry, go find information about this person, go search this URL and get me some data from this business. So we're going to let the AI agent in N8N, and the agent has been started, but I'm going to flesh these out, like create leads, research, create tasks. Explorium, they are not a sponsor, but they do potentially want to become a sponsor. But in this video, I did a lot of research. I did Appify. I've been using People Data Labs for years. The pricing is not horrible. And then I did Phantom Buster, which is actually really good, and the pricing wasn't horrible. The tricky part with all of these things is like, how do you find a pricing when it's not always black and white? With Explorium, they have an N8N integration. They have pathways to make that easy. So it was a nice quick drop in to help me see this. They even have an MCP, so we'll dig into that. But back to the point here is I want to have a nice UI where the person authenticates, not registers, because I don't want people using this on the web. I want to make this an internal or external intranet type system. They will log in, they will ask the system to do something or choose a button. We'll have some buttons later on. It will trigger this type of process where we are inside of this scope, this chat, this context in ChatGPT, but we're going to have more context than you could ever do in those systems. We're going to start bringing in this updated stuff going on the bottom. And it's going to lead to a UI where they can see a bunch of tasks. They could see a bunch of reports. They could see a bunch of leads related to that particular chat or overall. And then with Supabase, we're going to just save that as artifacts and then drive kind of this generic table to do a lot of different things for us. And lastly, we'll come back to N8N where we're looking at and just start creating tasks and research and other things from every request. So you're going to see this from beginning to end. Maybe not in this one video, but we'll definitely get to the point where we trigger the Explorium. In this particular chat pattern is just good. It works, and you can do it 100 ways. I'm just showing you one way that seems to work, seems to be robust. We're also going to deploy it to Coolify, so you get to see the whole thing from end. And I think we can do this all in this one video. So to begin with, I'm just going to start off with an authentication page. So typically I'll skip through the typing part. Sometimes I'll go too fast because I'll let it render and it just skips in my video editing. But we're giving it very little to start. I'm going to connect the dots here. We could self-host our own Supabase. That's totally legit. It will work with this. I'll show it in another video if people want. I'm going to use the built-in integrations just to kick it off. But again, that is optional. In Bolt, we'll probably do the same as Lovable. I'm not using Lovable just because I started to really like Bolt. And I was using Cursor, and that's still awesome too. And I see Claude Code everywhere, and I'm like, I want to try that. But right now, I'm just getting a little bit of an easier in with Bolt because I feel like it just, I haven't looked at code in weeks and I've been building tons of things. This is getting so easy and consistent. And there's agentic flows too, where I just go to GitHub and make an issue and it builds it. That's fine too. I just still like this kind of flow because I get to see the interface and kind of work through things. Now, while it's building, I would typically go do things like start my N8N and whatnot. I'm going to give this a moment, but here I'll go to the N8N for a moment. So we're going to let it run the migrations and do everything. What I want to show here is that we have a webhook, and what we're going to do is hit this webhook whenever a particular chat table is created. That's what we'll hit next. But I could, and just to let you know, like, I don't need to build a UI, or sometimes I'll prove this out by just having a Google spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet just had a search term and pending. And then I could have just iterated over that spreadsheet and gone through all of this and come back out to say not pending, and I could have written the content to that particular next column. So you don't need to build anything for these type of one-off tools or ideas. I'm building a dashboard because I do want to make this for a customer, and I do want to make this a place that I can build on, because I have some ideas here that might make for a nice dashboard that might be better than what you get off the shelf from many companies, because sometimes A, it's a new approach, and B, some of those interfaces are overwhelming. And so just have something nice and simple like this that you can share with your team is nice. So now let's see how it's going. Didn't get far yet. Okay, it wants me to click the Supabase connection. So this is a catch-22, and I've never seen it error out like this before. Of course, I'm recording, so now of course it's going to error out. But what I'm going to do is go in here and just do the connection for it. Usually it does this for me, and then I'll just grab some Vite stuff from my history, and I'll paste that there. But then I'm going to go over here, which I never have to do, so this is classic. And then I'll go grab a tools database, which is the one I'm going to use, and I'm going to go to integrations. I think what I'm going to do is click on connect, because it should all be there. And then I'm going to actually grab this. And let's go back to here. And again, this never happens. Now, the nice thing about Supabase is those are anonymous keys, and I can share them to you all and not worry about it. If I build things right, and I'm going to build things right, unless I make a mistake. All right, so let's save that. And that should allow it to get beyond this weird moment. So here now integration is working because I got beyond that weird moment. I've never seen that happen. Of course, I'm recording, so of course it's going to happen. So now I'm just going to connect, which is usually what I would do, and that would have made it happy. So I'm going to now do the GitHub integration, which will bring us to the Coolify integration. So the tricky part about GitHub is it's like, hey, I want your repository, and we don't have that. So what I'm going to do, again, sometimes it just needs to be reminded to keep it simple. So what I'm going to do is go to my GitHub area, and I'm going to make a repository. Let's see, we'll call it leads hub. Why not? And then we'll do that. Now, I have no clue, why it's so hard to do this inside of Bolt. What I do know is it seems like they're trying to bolt on Bolt to stack blitz, and sometimes that can just lead to just bad UI. So what I'm going to do here is just go to their window here. So let's see if it figured this out. Jeez, crazy. I'm just going to ignore it for a moment. And I'm going to export this, even though it's broken, okay? And then I'm going to take that export and unzip it. I just put it into my app folder. So what you're going to see inside of this command line tool is I have now a folder for the lead hub, okay? Now that's the code that I just got from these guys here. And then I'm going to just do a git init, a git remote add origin, the one I just pasted. And then I'm just going to add everything and then commit push. And now my code is up in GitHub. So what I want to do from here is say, I'm going to back out of this project for a moment. Again, I don't know why they made this. They didn't make it hard. I just can't figure out how to do it their way and understand it. But what I'm going to do now that all my code is here, I'm going to go start git push origin main. Okay, let's reload. And I'm going to go grab that again. I think HTTP is better. I don't know, honestly. And then I'm going to go back here and say new chat, import. And then I'm going to get out of this confusing UI and just say import from URL. Very tricky. But once you're in, other than that breakage there, which again, I've never seen, we can add our file here that we had a moment ago. And we could have just probably connected here again, and I don't need to add that file. So if you're not completely turned off by Bolt at this point, this is rare. I would show you many of the projects I built in it, but they're customers, so I can't really show them. I can show a lot of my stupid projects, but they are pretty dumb. So let's just now attempt to fix again. If it doesn't get through this, I will delete this video and start over. It's doing that. I'm going to go over here and this is our repo, okay? I'm going to go to my Coolify, and I added a new project, production, because I don't really want to worry about development and production. I'm going to use my GitHub app, which I've talked about in the other videos. I'm going to grab my Alfred Nutile Inc. app, which has access to that repo, and then we're going to org, and then I'm going to do my leads hub, which we just did. So at this point, this guy's ready to roll, and I'm going to give it a name. I'll leave this weird name for now because I'll probably change it after the video because sometimes things can go wrong. And then I'll put those variables in there that we just had. And I'll save it here as well, though I don't do preview releases. They are nice. And then we'll just deploy that. So right away, we're going to have our app. And as we work on it, we're going to have the app auto build. Okay, so watch what happens from here. So I think my password is this. So let's go make sure I have the right credentials. One moment. Yeah, invalid's good. I'm probably going to go add a new user. So back in here in Supabase, I'm going to add a new user, and that will be, where do they do that again? Users, get rid of that filter, add a user, send invite current user, and I'm going to do my name again. And then I'm going to do a test password that I use, auto confirm the user. So it might not like this because I've done this before, so I'm not quite sure. But I'm going to do a 02. Again, you can use plus signs for testing. Okay, I'm reusing an old database, so they didn't want to make a new one, but it had a function left over that was looking for a table that didn't exist. But I don't know these things, so I opened up AI, built in a Supabase, and said, hey, what's wrong? And it told me what's wrong, and it fixed it. So you're reusing a database, fine. I could have deleted it and started over. I just was too lazy to wait. But when you do get stuck, just use the AI tools that are built into Supabase or whatever you're using. So if we go back to here, it's finally done, as we saw a moment ago. I'm going to log in again with that particular username. And now we're into this start, okay? But here's what's really cool is if we go back to that Coolify, we're here as well. So now we have deployed our app. So right away, and I hope this makes sense, is that right away we are building in within seconds seeing. So if I was to do an edit here, we're going to see it show up there in under a minute. So it's not how I develop, but it's just a reminder how quickly you can move forward. So we'll stick in here. So at this point, after all of that, which, I mean, it seems like a lot. We had that initial error, which is rare. We had me reusing a database, which whatever. And then we have me doing this in 20 minutes, an auth page, a website deployed, Supabase ready to go. And I have my N8N, which I didn't build, so that I won't include that. So we're ready to go within 20 minutes with authentication-driven system. Now we're going to add the table. So I'm going to kick this one off, and I'm just going to see. I don't need this much information. This kind of overdid it. Do I always build like this with ChatGPT running the kind of show? Nope. I'm just trying something here. Now, of course, ChatGPT wants to do a lot of the work, so I'm going to leave it at that. I could have gave it a UI example. No good reason why not. I could have given it my wireframes. So many things I could have done. I'm just going to start with that because we'll come back to the UI as we go. So if my video editor didn't crash, you would have seen a big green button here, and I said accept. Now, if this was a self-hosted Supabase, I think I wouldn't get the button, but I could still do all of this in Bolt. I'd probably have to go manually run the migrations, I think. I'm going to try eventually. So anyways, we have our migration, and more importantly, it's building up these files. So if we ever want to do the migrations to production, we can run them. And now we have something in the database that we can't access in the UI. So I'm just going to go back and prompt that really simply. So here's our chat. So we get to our public schema, because remember, you have different schemas here, and it could switch on you. And then we have a chat. Okay, so now what I want to tell it to do is say, okay, great. So I just used a UI recently that did this. Let's doing this. I will try to find that. But basically, I wanted to show that it's thinking, that it's going through all these steps. I think it was a search page. Yeah. Okay, let me go find that. And you'll get what I'm getting at in a moment. So let's go to Coolify. And I was using their docs in searching. And I want this type of effect. Here we go. Now watch, it will do a kind of like counter iteration, see how it's determining. And so I wanted to do that as I'm working through the process. I won't stream just because maybe I can, I just got to see about how to do that. But I probably won't just because the way things are going to be set up here. And that's okay. I think streaming is great for certain things, but I think in this case, a dump of the data or the artifact will be good. And so what we're going to do is when the person starts a chat, we're over here looking at the chat, and we can start seeing the artifacts it makes, the leads or the task or the reports. And those would be related to a chat. So in the AI could do all this. I know things, so I ask for things, but that can also be a drawback. So let's see, prompt input interface, navigation, user flow. I don't see this, so I'm going to let it know. Very weird. I got to not record things anymore because this is what happens. Oh, it put the button there. Okay, hold on, let's go back. Chat sessions, leads, qualifications, yeah. So it's a little too subtle. So I see what it did. So let's do this. 12 of them. So as I go, I might think of these things. You never can plan everything at first from the start. Okay, so we are here and I added a new prompt and then my system crashed. So let me go back to this. And we go here, I don't care about this. We will come back to the UI later. What I want to do is connect now the dots to then trigger the kind of flow here. So if we go to Supabase for a moment, we're going to see that we have a chat message, 2 of them because I did that. And I will tell it, hey, the original message should be pending. And the reason I want that is because I want N8N to react to that. And so when I go here and I get rid of that, because I was just using it there, and then I just use this production URL, I'm going to go to here and say, you know what, on my integrations, on my webhook integration, which if it is not there, we're just going to grab it. When a new row or an insert happens, only on an insert, we might do updates later, but only on an insert. When a chat table is made, chat, here we go, public chat, we want to do something and we want to hit that. Now I'm going to add a bearer token shortly, but in the meantime, I'm going to call that what my workflow is called so I can find it. So now we're done connecting. So we have the UI connecting to Supabase, they'll go back and forth, and then we have the Supabase connecting. So if we pull this out for a moment and make that a little shorter or less wide, I mean, we'll show some dynamic updates happening in the UI when it's done doing this thing. But in the meantime, I want to go back here. Now, because I didn't, let me reload this. That was the original template I got from them. Now, this is the new one. Now, when I make a new row, it is going to now trigger N8N. But I'm just going to do an insert row, and I'm going to say content, step is pending, and then the role is human. And that's it. So I'm going to trigger N8N so I can start working on this. And we're going to click save. And it's doing this thing. I'm just going to tell it go fix again. Very rarely do I see this much trouble. And now we're going to see in N8N, we have a history related to this particular thing we just set up. Now, because I did not put an if statement here, we're going to have a little bit of it's going to go do a thing that is irrelevant. So we're going to copy this to the editor because I want all the data here. And now in here, we have the fact that there's an insert from chat, and we know it's a human and we know it's pending. Now, I only want to work when it's pending and it's human. And actually, anytime it's an insert, it's going to be pending. So let's focus on the human part. So I'm going to say, as long as it's an insert, because that's what we're doing, and it's human, okay? So as long as that's true, we want to react, okay? On an insert. If it was an update, I'd probably have a lot more logic there. So if human, we do things. So what we do is tricky, and it's going to come down to a decent prompt. Now this prompt is actually meant for something else. I'm going to make a system prompt and move that in there, okay? And then we're going to just fix it because it's totally the wrong prompt. So I'm going to say, here's my date, and then we're going to make a role out of this. Now, I don't want to write a prompt. Why? Like, we can just have these other tools do it for me. So I made this project in ChatGPT. So I'm basically telling it I need to fill the context and some metadata. So I'll have it help build up this system prompt that later, obviously we're going to change it a ton, but I don't want to, prompting takes time. So I let it start, I'll see how it goes, and then I'll fix it. All right, and of course read it because it can complicate things, trust me. So we're going to go back to N8N, and we're going to pop that open and do that. And then here's our output. I wanted to make sure to respect that output. That's the user prompt. We'll come back to that in a moment. We have structured output, and I want to put that there. Now, there's a new feature we're not seeing here that would help with structured output. I'm going to upgrade my N8N to make sure I can do that. I'll do that in a moment. I'm using OpenAI, so it really does do a good job for some of the structured output, but if I get any errors, I'll come back to it. You have to put the word JSON in there to do what I'm about to do, which is keep that as JSON. So I set the response format to JSON. And it's a mini. If mini has trouble, we'll turn it up a bit. Okay, so now we did not give it the person's question, so let's do that. Let's see, where is this guy? Body, so this is the body of the insert, and then we have a content. That's what we want. That's the human's question. Now we're going to do a cheat here. I really like doing it this way, and we're going to use Postgres, and we're going to connect it to our tools, which I have to go do. And so I'm basically going to go connect it to the tools system on Supabase. Let's see. Actually, they moved the button up here, so it should be easy. I'm thinking the password, which I got to go find. I default to this one. This one should work. We'll try this one, but I sometimes can't get this one to work. So let's go try that one. So we'll put that there, and then we'll put that there. And then we'll go find the password that should be somewhere. See, it could be the password. Let me try the other connector. And if it is the password, I'll just change it because I'm not using this anywhere. I'm going to try this connector because I have seen this happen before. So I'll do that. So it's the same pooler. That's weird. I thought it'd be different. So it's the same that. 5432, and it's the user that changes for sure, though. The user. It's 5432, the normal one. See, that one works. I don't know. I've seen both work. I don't know why. The last one typically works for me. So I'm going to use N8N's chat history feature, and that means that I can use my chat rows in the table to make this work. But in the end, I can use the chat history that N8N knows how to make to really make the history work for N8N. So I don't have to really worry about that. I can actually, it's going to make the table for me, and I'm going to block it. So watch what happens here. So now I'm done. Like, I don't have to keep running the front end. I can just click test workflow because it's in there, and I can see this work or not work. So let's go see what happened there. Progress. Oh yeah. Oh, I don't know why. Okay. So this guy, I forgot to set the session. So let's go do that. The session is the particular key that we're going to link everything to, and we're just going to keep it in track or in line with the parent chat, and that will make sense as we move forward. AI does this using a threaded tool that I don't think they use anymore. We're following that pattern. It's chat, but it's a little bit more robust, and it can lead to a lot of things. So I should disable that because I don't want to use all my tokens for testing. I only have so many. I think they give you 100 to start. I'll disconnect that in a moment, and I will, or pin it. Let's see if I can pin it. I don't know if I can. We'll see what happens when it's done if I can pin it. Yeah, you really can't. I will pin this whole thing, and we'll see if that helps move quicker. Because in the end, what I want to do is get an output like that. And then what I want to do is this. So let's say I wasn't distracted and did this in the right order. Then what I want to do at this point is say, you know what, we need to go update that chat thing to let the UI know what we're doing, right? So I'm going to go to the tools, Supabase. Might not even have that connected. So again, I guess you get to see some things here, which is not bad. So we are going to go to our Supabase, and we're going to go to this one, and we're going to grab this one. But in N8N, I'm not going to use, sorry, I clicked expression by accident. We're not going to use our anonymous key. When it comes to N8N, you're going to give it the very secret key that you just never hand out. And let's see, how do I get to that? Sometimes this can be a pain too. Database, project auth database. So what I want is get API keys, and I want this guy, but I don't want to reveal it. Okay, so we're going to close that, and then we're going to say, okay, so what I want to do is keep the UI going so it has a sense of progress. And I'm going to say, okay, take the incoming ID and let's set the step to, let's see, we're going to set the step to something that reads nice, whatever. And then I want to say something so it's not pending. So we're going to say running, if I'm allowed to. Now, what I mean by that is it might have chosen something here for me to do. So let's see, pending, running, completed. So it's limited what I can do there, no big deal. Okay, so now we're ready where we're able to give the user a UI update. Now, as this is running, I want to do a couple of things at the end. Let me not get ahead. So now we have some output. So now I want to create the next thing. So I'm going to add a Supabase again, create a row, and that row is going to be obviously the same thing. And it's going to be create a row, chat row, and we're going to define a bunch of fields here. So we have the parent ID. So this is where that particular important step comes in. So in this webhook, we have a parent ID, which is this thing coming in, so we can kind of create that relationship to all of these. Then we have a role, which is going to be AI, because that's who's responding. And then we have status. We're going to say completed. And then we're going to say, let's see, status step. And I can put whatever I want there. It's just for the UI. And then content. Obviously, we want the content. So what came out of our guy? It came to this, okay? And then it had a title. And let's see, title. And then, oops, did not mean to do that. Title. Okay. So step, content, title. And then I'm saving some metadata, which might not pay off here because I might move that to artifacts, like I said, but we'll leave that like that. So now if I run this like this, because I pinned this to be purple, it's not going to keep running and wasting all my credits, but it's just going to make that. And so I could rename this too to like create AI chat row. And then by the time we come out to here, I want to update the one before. So I want to say, hey, parent chat, the one that started all this, you're going to say completed. Later on, I might say running on an update. And we'll come back to that because I am going to have updates come through here. Step can be anything I want. And that's about it. Now I can see where this is going to need to become more flexible because we're going to come in from an insert or an update. I think, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll come back to that in a moment. Maybe not. It might just be on inserts. Now, the other thing I want to do is say another if statement, and this will make sense in a moment. So we're going to say if, so I click expression, and then I click on this. If, let's see, if title is null. If title is null. If string is empty. We need to make a title, but we only need to make it if we're coming in for a human chat, and we are because we've already set the if statement, so we should be good. Okay, so all I'm going to do there is say if it's true, we're going to take OpenAI. I'll just do OpenAI really quick. You can do whatever you want for the models. We're going to say tools. Oh, sorry. I'm just going to use this one. We're going to say text model. We're going to say 4.1 mini because it should be easy. Let's see, mini. So many choices, it's hard to remember. Okay, and then we're going to say format JSON, and we're going to just say give me a title, and that's it. Okay, and that's going to be a system thing, and then question is going to be, so again, press expression, put your mouse where you want to, then press this, and then the incoming question is that. And that question is pretty small, but you can see if it was a bigger question. So that's it. So now we're going to output as JSON, and we gave it the format, and we put the word JSON in there. Now, I don't want to run all of this again. So for a moment, I'm going to pin, but remember, if you do this, sometimes undo it. So let's just see. And then that. So I might remove these pins when I want to run this again. Okay. So then if we did this right, oops, and I forgot to do this. Now we bring this guy over and we just say, you know what, also while we're at it, let's do the title. Now what's cool here, and you won't actually see it here, is that we would have seen the UI just show the title dynamically. So let's see if we can kick off a real one. This is where we'll test the UI, but man, I don't want to use up all my credits. So what I might do is have it do some research. I'm going to disconnect that for a moment. And we're going to have it do research, but it's really not going to do the research because this guy's not plugged in yet. I'm going to do that with you. I'll just do a search the web. We'll just do that. This will never be enough, but I'm going to do it and then we'll make it better after. Okay, so we added a search the web tool. And I think I'll add a calculator because why not, right? That's a good one to have. Okay. So we're going to search the web. So let's say it probably knows what to do already. Search the web. So we see that we have some chats. Now, we're back at the home page, and if I was to click into a chat, I should be able to see what we've pushed into that. So let's try another one and watch it show up. Now, I don't want it to be like a chat. So maybe that's where I should have gave it the screenshot, but that's confusing too, right? Because it doesn't know. So, you know, that's where you could flesh out the UI a bit more. And that's actually Supabase. Yeah, that's a tricky one. So I'm not sure. I know what I want, but this is why I like when it does it for me. Okay, so I had to step away for a moment, quite a few moments, and I'm back. So in that time between here and there, I did do a few things. One is I want to make sure that before I forget, is that I turned on row level security for this database. This database was made by N8N, and it's not being used by the front end. So I'm going to turn on row level security and leave it so that no one can get to it, basically. But we still have our chat area. So let's get back to that. Now, I'm still working through the UI, and I want to get to the next one where we actually add artifacts. And the first artifact will be the research paper it thinks it's making. So at this point, we can start a chat. A thread's a good word for it. And we can start to say, okay, tell me about AMD. And it will find some information about AMD. Can you compare it to Intel? And it has the context to know I'm talking about this bigger picture. And the reason this all ended up working out, and I didn't do much through the gap, though if I compare the N8Ns, it looks like a lot, is, let me copy this to the editor. So at this point, it's working well because I got a few of the things lined up better. So first we decide, is it human, just to see if I want to process it. And then we decide what level are we at. So are we talking about this particular chat, which is the parent, or are we dealing with a sub chat item, which is the child? And then we mark that accordingly. Like this pattern here is very common where we might have two different pathways. Let's see if I can make this look better. And we might have two different pathways, and either pathway would then establish a different value for session ID or whatever. So here's another one, session ID, but it's from the parent versus the ID. By the time we get to this one, I can then take the one before me, whichever one it was, and make it the one that everybody can reference. So later on down here, we can reference not this, and actually that's a bug, we can reference the one we just made. So if I say vars, and then I just go to this, I could say session ID. Now, what that means is that the session ID always has to be the same thing. The session ID always has to be about the thread we're on. And I really wish I called it thread and then chat, but whatever. So I want to make sure that the parent ID, the thread, the top level started all this, which we see right here, is the memory. Because everything that goes through this memory buffer, or this memory, buffer, I guess, I always want it to be about the parent. So every time we look for the history, or N8N does it, it will grab everything about the parent. Comparison of Intel's technology. Can you compare this to Intel? And it has the question twice. We're going to fix that in a moment, or we're going to see what happens now that I just did that. I'm going to click Save. So now we have this one that just helps to update the UI to let us know we're doing something, where I set the node to running. Now, again, what am I setting to running? Well, setting the one we're on, which is this one, right, to completed or running. But I could set the top level, and here we set the title. So I could do more here, or a few of these, to reflect some stuff in the UI. Then the agent goes through the process of taking the content, the question, and takes our prompt to say, here's what I want you to do with this. And then it thinks it's using a research tool, which is a dud right now, but we're going to add something there and build our first artifact. And with that research tool, it probably asked it to do the job. So we're going to fix the prompt, and then we're going to really do the job in there. And then it comes out saying, you know what, I did something with a research tool. I'm assuming it did it. And check out the report. And that's about it. The tricky part here, though, was when I make this child node, which is an AI node, I just want to make sure I reference the correct parent. So in the parent ID, I just had to reference that session ID we made, because at that point we decided which one is the ID. Because this is a child coming in who has a parent, then I know it's not the parent, and I want to use this. But I don't want to try to figure that out here. That's why, again, I go back here and figure it out in one spot. Okay. And then we just do one more thing to say, if this is brand new, let's give it a title, but we don't need to do that because the parent already has a title. And then we're done. All right. So with that one change, let's run this again, and then we'll get into the artifact. So I keep doing the same thing over and over, and then we'll do one on Intel. So let's give that a moment to roll. It's still flashing, no big deal. I just haven't had time to go back to the UI. I really want to get the backend and the artifacts working. So we see there was something there. Now, I want to do that. Nope, I don't think I want to do that. Sorry. And so still simple stuff. We got a thread, we got context, we had a conversation. But here is where it thinks it's making a artifact or report. But it's not, because it's a dud. And we come back to here. Let me just get to the right one. And we see, let's see, sorry. We see right here, it gave it to the report guy. This is what we want. I don't know why it does this, though. This would be interesting. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it does do a search. And yeah, let's see. It probably gave me the search results, which is silly. I don't need all that. Okay. And it says, it gives me some information here. And that's it. So now I want to take that and make the artifact. So let's do this next part in Bolt. Okay. Okay, so we're going to let it make the artifact migration for us, and obviously some UI stuff. Not always, might just be the migration. Back here, we're going to start building around that concept. So I am going to just open up this guy and go to it. And let's see what it keeps giving this. I probably want to give it more. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see what it is. And compare now. Okay. So this guy is just going to do some research, and it's a tool, it's an agent tool, but it could also have its own tools. It's such a generic tool, research. I'm going to consider it web research. So I'm going to use Tavily, because I do like Tavily. So let's go to Tavily for a moment. They're both really good. I just want to use Tavily just for now because I know it a little bit better. And I'm going to say I have a playground, and I want to do a key, and I want to do search. I don't know if I want to do extract or not. No, it's just going to do search. So we're going to search, and just so we can see it work, let's see. And just so we can see it work, I want to grab this. Okay. All right, so now we're going to say go do that. Oh, here's the migration option. So you can see we can do two things at once. Obviously. Oh, I want to just try again. I don't know why that failed. It's because I'm recording it. There we go. All right, so I want to search, but I want to, oh, here it is, additional fields. Here we go. So we want search, general, news, finances. I don't know, like all of those are good. I want to pass it in as a variable. General, news, or finance. I'm going to have it decide on one of those. And I don't think I'm going to do, I'll do advanced just for the heck of it. Maximum results, time range. And I don't want to go back in time forever. And I'll have it do some work there. And I don't know. I'm not going to do much with the images, so I won't save them just yet. That could be nice. So there's my curl command I need. So I'm going to go to the guy we were working on. I'm going to go here. I'm going to paste the curl. And I'm going to pause for a moment because we're going to see my token. Okay. I'm going to remove this because we don't need it there. I've already done it here. And I think it's just generic. And I think I used header. And then I think it should be here. Oops. Here we go. So we're going to go search, general, and we can get rid of all of that. And here we have our query. Okay, so now we're going to just say, so I don't really have an AI agent doing this, and that's okay. So I meant to have the AI agent here. We're going to go straight to this, though, and see what happens. Let's just see what happens. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Let me see. I am going to do that. One moment. Let's move this guy over here. I'm going to make another AI agent because I wanted to do a couple things. I want to continue on showing how I can make it be a little bit more dynamic. Your role is to take this content, use the research tool called Tavily to go get information from the web, and then take those results and really create a good report about the particular topic at hand. And you're going to output it in a particular format. And that format is going to be what we gave what we need for an artifact. So let's go here. We're going to always give it the date and make sure you mark expression. Okay. And the format we'll fix in a moment. And the prompt is this. Sorry, yeah, the incoming question query. Okay. And then we'll use anything we want. I'm going to stick to ChatGPT for a moment. We can use buffer memory here to, heck, we could have used the memory from the other system. That's really neat. I'm going to do that. Let's do this. So we're going to go to here, and I'm going to add in, this is actually pretty neat. We're going to add in the session ID, okay? And then we're going to go here, copy to editor, unpin, and over here, we're going to add that session ID, okay? We're not going to let this guy do it because we don't need to be that magical. This is the tool for you to give the query to, and it will do web research for you, and then we'll write it into an artifact. It will return back to you the results of that artifact, which the user will see, but you can help summarize it. I like to give it information, and then we want that session ID because it's not its job to do that. So clicking expression, clicking this pop-up, you get nothing because that's what happens with those sub nodes. So we want to steal it from here. Here we go. See, so we're going to pass in the session ID, which is really nice. And we are going to snag that from somewhere. Oh, I can get it from, I guess I can grab it from right here. Human user completed, parent ID here. So this is the session ID. We covered that a moment ago. All right, so now back in here, we can say, okay, you're going to get a session ID. We don't have one, and I don't want to run it again, so I'm going to do session ID. And now we're ready for that. Oops, save that. Okay. So the buffer, though, is going to then use that. So let's go like this. And then do that. Okay. So chat, session ID, and we're going to have a tool. The first tool is going to be the HTTP tool. And then we're going to paste that curl. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Import the curl. I think. Yeah, wow, it was already there. Oh, I didn't know how to do that. Okay, cool. All right, web search. This is the tool to do the initial web search to get your content. Post in there, and we're going to remove this. So we never really want it here. We want to always set up our header or bearer token, and I've done this before. It's pretty easy. And then this is where the magic begins. I could just pass this in here. I don't think that's a big deal. This is where I wanted to see if I could find it. So advanced, time range, month. So I wanted to get a little bit more dynamic when it came to search topic. Okay, topic. News, general, and finance. So we're going to go back to here and add topic. Topic. And then we're going to make that magic, and then we're going to say general, news, or finance. Default is general. Okay. So now we're going to let it do that. Okay, so now we gave it a research tool. Now I want to force a particular format. Okay, so we're going to go here, response format, JSON. And then it warns me I got to mention JSON in here. So what is the format, right? The format's going to be that table we just made. So if we go back here for a moment and we reload this, we have no table. Jeez, criminy. Give me a moment here. Maybe because I've been doing this for a little while on and off. One moment. Some days. So we're just having a little trouble with Supabase. No big deal. I ran the migration manually. And we're going to go back here and we're going to go look at that because I just want to see what the table was like. So then we can just see artifacts and see the schema here. Okay. So this is the schema, but that's not really my format. So let's go do this. All right. So we have title, string, let's see, content, of course, string, type, report, which it doesn't need to know, tags, sorry, I can keep that out actually, sorry, it doesn't need to deal with that, tags, an array, so we're gonna have an array of tags. Okay. Let's see, tags, title, content, metadata. So this one, I haven't decided yet what I want here, but let's try URLs, would be an array, string, and then we could ask for something cool if we later on have images, which would be neat. String. We could have a chance to later on maybe have some files that it finds on the web. We could do further research with those. String. So we're basically saying you can shove all this data in there and it can be flexible. So title. Okay. So now we have our format. And so if I was to run this, I can say run and it will take that question, take that session ID from the purple one and go through it. Now, I'm going to just stop because we had an error. Let's go see what the error was. We had a few errors, and usually you'll see the error right there. So let's see if we can see the error up here. Here we go. No errors. I should have maybe let it finish. If Supabase is having trouble, we can be having some bigger trouble. Bad request. Okay, I can handle bad request again and again. So let's see if I messed up the format. Let's see, post, search, and Tavily, query, prompt. I think that will JSONify it. Okay, maybe I messed up here. Let's see, I didn't mean to do that. Let's do this. Parameter value, general, news, or finance. Default is general, string. So maybe it doesn't understand all that weird stuff I just wrote. So let's just do general, reducing the particular scope so I can troubleshoot basically. And I ran it, but I don't know if I could just run it on our own. Did it pass? Yeah, it did. Okay, cool. So it's just the way I did that. I don't know the best way to do this. Let's see, general. So I should be able to do this. So let's see, Explain to general news finance. Let's see if I can make it do that. Okay, that's working. I could limit the amount of times it does it and all that too if I needed to. All right, so now we have output and let's see. So it gave us results. Let's move, let's move this over, okay? And we have output. Now, oh, it didn't do, look at that. It did not, yeah, look at, I forgot to do this and my bad. Let's do this. Because I'm using an AI agent and not OpenAI, it's just normal agent. Even though I force it here, I still have to do structure. And I want to get the better structure thing working too. So hopefully if this doesn't work, I'll go do that. And sometimes what I'll do here, where is this guy? That's really, they have this new structured output that's a lot easier to use or a lot more advanced. Wonder if I can, I can't pin anything. I got to run it again. Okay, let's see what happens. Structured output can fail once in a while. I would probably set this to, and I'll do it right now. I think I can do it while it's running. Try and fail just to recover itself if there's a bad structure. But there's actually a new built-in structure builder thing that I want to install or update my N8N. So see, so now we have structured output, cool. So here we want to write to the artifact. Sorry, write to Supabase. This is cool. But I forgot to tell it the parent. Okay, I messed up there. Let's go create a row. The row is going to be in the tools, Supabase. It's going to be a row. It's going to be an artifact. And we're going to do a few things and we're going to go have to fix something. So we don't have the chat ID yet. That I'm going to go grab. We do have the content, which is right here. Oops, which is right here. We have the title, obviously. Title. We have the, what else we got? Metadata. The metadata is all this. That's cool. That's great. That's cool stuff because we can actually use that in the UI later. You'll see. We have tags, which should be an array. I hope it's an array. And then we have, let's see. Type is going to be just me typing a report. That's the artifact type, and that will pay off later too. And then title, we got, okay, cool. So we need this guy. So I forgot to do this. This one has a session ID and the chat ID. This is the chat it's related to, which could be the session, but most likely is not. And so the chat ID, and then we want to go here and say, you know what, we need one more thing here. Let's see. We need one more thing, and that would be the ID of the guy coming in. Okay, so we want the ID of this. And that's tricky because we got to reach for it. Okay, so we got here. Now we get this new icon here because we did an update, and we're going to do that. And we're going to make sure we check it as an expression. And because it's coming in from the top, I'm just going to put a first there. Okay. So now we have that, and we can go here. And we don't have to do all of this all over again. I'm going to just fix my thing here. If I do end up running this again, it would be this. No, it would be this, whatever came in. Okay. So this is not the parent. It's just the one that came in for that chat. And make sure I get that right because that's really important. So this is the record parent. Yep, got it. Cool. All right, and so then on this one, I'm going to pin this so we don't keep running it and wasting credits. And then this guy is that. Oops, definitely not that. This guy is going to be this. Okay. Oop, and I don't like when I see red, so I'm going to do, because it's not a loop, I can do that and maybe get green, maybe not because I didn't run it right. So I'm going to run it and it should be fine. There you go. And then we have that. So now we have an artifact, but I want to push something out so the AI knows we did all this, okay? Output. And that would mean that I want to give it like everything. So it's always tricky. Let's see. I want to give it the content. Let's just give it the content, but I'm going to give it more. One moment. Tags is a good one. And title's a good one just to give it any extra help. So this is what the AI is going to see on the other end, okay? So we'll call this output. And I don't know if I could have just gave it the raw JSON from the Supabase. But now if we run this, it's going to do the research and do the things. But I don't want to run it here. Let's go back to here. And this can get tedious, but let's give it a go. We've already deployed this, believe it or not. So we go back to the dashboard. And we say, what is this? So let's go back. Let me just open up 2 tabs here, just so I can copy stuff easier. Back to the beginning, which again, I can probably be more efficient. Let's let it run. Don't want to sit here forever. See if I messed up. There we go, a little slow. How would I speed that up? I could probably use a different model. I could probably have it not wait for that tool, but it does wait for that tool, so it's okay. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Okay, so here we are. Results are ready. Now, did it even do a report? Because it's not supposed to on that first one, but it did. It did. That's fine. That's fine. So see, we have a report. We probably made the artifact. I'll assume we made the artifact. As you can see, one of those might be the one I made earlier, but this is not it. This is the one I made earlier. This is the one we just did just now. Okay. And we know we did that now because it's actually a top level one. So it's CCA or CCAC. Now it didn't show the report. So that's a bummer. That's a bug. Okay. So if I go back to here and I go to here, and go to here. Oh, look it has it there. So maybe I didn't deploy the update yet. Let's go refresh the screen. There it is. Perfect. So here I am on the website deployed. Yeah, pretty nice. Obviously I got to fix it, but pretty nice. Let's do that. Let's tell it right now. Let's doing that. I want to go back to here and say this. Man, I think there's a bad thing going on the internet right now. I'm going to save that. They're having trouble. Supabase is having trouble. I'm assuming there's something bigger going on in the world and I'm not noticing it. I'll leave that for now. We'll come back to here. Okay. All right, so we have research, artifacts. Okay. So we can keep going and expounding. The next one's going to be, I could probably do this one really quick because it's actually pretty easy. The next one would be this. Let's see, unpin. That was pretty cool though. Let's see, the next one is a URL tool. Let's see, all we want to do is use Firecrawl for that. Let's see, we're going to say save. I guess I could use Tavily for that as well. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Let's see, I'm just going to go get a simple stupid thing. One moment. I need to read these recipes more. I eat such lackluster stuff sometimes. Okay, so we have a URL. I want to see what it looks like when I send it. Oh, look, it did the HTTP. Okay, let me try to fix that. Sorry. I don't think you're supposed to do the HTTP. This is a bad day on the internet. Let's get rid of these. Huh. OSS default. Okay, so we're going to use this to extract the content. And let's see, advanced markdown, include images, and let's see. So we're going to do that. And we're going to see images are cool. So let's see, basic images, favicon. What advanced would be? I'm going to do advanced just for the heck of it. And then we'll send a request. Not that we need to. So it must be a response. Okay. So it is fake. That's great. It was quick. So we're going to say, but I want to know, oh, here it is. Cool. Here it is. So this is what we want to put into that. Okay. So we want to go here. We're going to make a new workflow that will be our external tool. And that will be a when executed, and we're going to say URLs. I wonder if we can do that. Let's see what happens. I mean, you saw it work, so we'll see what happens. I'm just curious. We're going to import that curl, which is really nice. And so we're going to get rid of the header, and we're going to use generic header tool. No, Tavily, sorry, Tavily. Send body, and then we have an array, which actually might work out. I'm not sure why I decided to do that. Let's see. So we're going to say So what does it pass in? I think it would just be an object like that, and then that object would be an array. Okay. I'm gonna do this, and then we're gonna do, and I'll do 2 recipes so we can make sure it's gonna work as an array. Okay, just in case the user adds more than one URL to scrape, but who knows? Okay. Again, if I could go single and then I could keep it simple. Okay, so we're gonna say that. We're gonna give it that. Okay, URLs. Okay, oops, then pop that back up here. Then hope it's good JSON. It is not. It is not to JSON. Okay, so I just put to JSON string. That looks better. All right. So unless they're really having trouble, that should work. Now here's the thing. I don't want the other agent to build up the artifacts, okay? So what I'm gonna do is make the artifact here. And so I'm doing it a little different than before. Is there any good reason? Let me back out here for a moment. So I'm gonna move that over for a moment. I'm gonna go grab everything we did before. Let's see, I'm gonna say client ID, sorry, chat ID, and then session ID. Okay, just like we did before. And then like before, we're gonna grab these guys here and repeat those in our fake payload. Okay, perfect. So again, rinse and repeat. That's what we want to get to. I don't want to do things new every time. Okay. So then, just like here, so this is the other one we made. I'm going to grab all of this, okay? And paste that into here, and then put that guy here. All right. But structured output is good because it's going to be like, it's going to be somewhat like it. So let's just do this, okay? And because I wanted to get a bunch of data, okay? Passing in more than one URL it could be tricky. And we're going to do the Tavily, not the search though. We're going to do Tavily scrape. Rename. Okay, and let's go grab all this stuff. So it's extract, and then it is a way different payload. So I'm just going to put that in there. It's going to be this. Okay, so this guy, I'm going to switch it to JSON. Put in that, and then we are good. Okay, so we can get rid of all of that. And this might work out. No, it might not. So I'm going to disconnect this for a moment, and we'll come back to this guy in a moment. So let's run this, but I got to unpin it because I want it to run. Oops, and I actually did something wrong here. I forgot to update this guy. Yeah, I forgot to do a couple of things. So we have our new structure, okay? And it has a different role. So your role is to take the URLs. Okay, could be better. Okay, so here's the format. I don't like having the format in 2 places. I probably don't need to. So that, and I forgot to give it now the URLs. That's all it needs. Okay, so it should go to Tavily once, I think. Yep, maybe. Did I? Yep, it should. Now I didn't use the magic here with this guy. Probably could have done that different. Okay, so we have some output. This is great. Now what we need to do is loop over that. So we're going to do a split. Splits are really important. We're going to take that output here and we get that. Now I don't want to run this again, so I'm going to pin this really quick. So now we have 2 items, which we know we have. And I think, let's see, I think I can just shove those into one Supabase because it will make 2 rows, I think. Let's see, we're going to say chat ID comes from there. The content will come from here. The metadata is that. And the tags. The tags are that. And then this is going to be type URL. So it's a URL type artifact. Let's see. Did it give it a title? Yes, it did. Okay, good. All right, so that is our workflow for tool URL scrape. And I usually call things a tool when I want to do that so that I can find them more easily. This will be the lead dash. Okay. So we have a tool and I'm going to go plug it in. So I'm going to go back to here and say you have a URL. And this will be tricky because I really got to make sure that it understands. Okay, so let's see. Let's magically let it do that. An array of URLs. Now what I don't understand about ChatGPT, sorry, about N8N is it does just guess at that. So let's see, string number Boolean JSON optionals. Age is student. Yeah, that's interesting. Can it not do an array? I think it can do an array. So I'm going to give it a key of URLs, description, array of URLs, and then that will be JSON. And can I give it an example? An array of URLs. Let's see if that's enough. I really don't know. And then we'll say chat ID. This one, we don't need to let it do anything magical. That's exactly what we did before. So it's going to always be related to the chat that came in. It's always going to be related to the session. Okay. So we're going to bring that down there. But I'm going to give this a good name because it really needs a good name. URL scraper. Use this when the user enters a bunch of URLs that they want us to get data from a website. All right, and then I want to go back here and just double check this. This output's no longer really that great. Yeah, so this is why I typically loop. I always regret not looping. So we're going to loop, and I think I'm in the wrong one. Research, so we're not in this one. We're in this one. So I'm going to loop. I'm going to say loop. And then we're going to go here and say that can go away. And this will make sense in a moment. So we're going to loop over those. Okay, and once we make all those, we're going to aggregate. And we're going to do all the data. And then we're going to just output all the data. And I think this will be fine because it will just output everything we made for rows in the database. So it's fine. Okay, and that should be it. So if it uses the tool, we're good to go. And let's give it a go. That's a silly URL, but let's just do it. Let's see. Let's see here. Let's go to our thing and not to there. Let's go back to the dashboard. And let's do simple recipes. And let me just copy that in case we have to do it again. All right, unless something is down like the rest of the web. How are we doing here? Still having trouble. And let's see, it's running. I could sit here for an hour and watch, but I forgot to click save there. I still rather go here and just double check. And I did forget to click save. Hopefully that doesn't interrupt us. Sometimes I forget to click save. So we have that, and then we have that. So let's see, 28 seconds. It didn't do the right tool. So that's the tricky part, right? Oh wait, this is the latest one. Sorry, good. Oh, it didn't like that. Now, I really didn't want to use both tools. So I'm going to do something here. I think I named this wrong. Web research. So we're going to do a few things here. Let's see. Oops. Never use both tools. Okay, so I think, let's see. Chat input. Expected to find prompt field chat input. What? So if we go here, let's click save. When you have an error, this is cool. You can click on the subflow and then we can see what the error is here. Oh, I put in the wrong thing. Got it. So I just have a typo. Sorry about that. So I just did that wrong. So we could, let's see, why did that other guy error out, I wonder? Research. Probably because it got no data. Yeah, just probably because, I don't know why on that one, but okay. What we're gonna do now is, because I don't wanna run this all over again, and this is where things can speed up. So now that we told it, let's see, let me close some tabs here. It's getting a little bit crazy. So it got an error here. This is the one I care about. And that error was I forgot to pass in the right thing. So what I'm going to do is I'll just run this again. and it picks up that it's running, which is the cool part of this. It will do the scraping. So let's give that a moment. All right, we gotta fix that. We're getting there though, we're getting there. Please check your, so let's see, please check your content. Oh, watch this. So this guy, I must have messed up and I made this a string. No, it's a URL, session ID and string. So I wonder if it's passing it in as an array or a string. So you'll see that this is going in wrong. Shoot, I shouldn't have. Sorry about that. Let's see. Let's save. Oh, it's a bummer. I stopped it. So let's just see. Okay. I don't think that's the right error. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I get it. So I'm going to stringify that. It's just, it was expecting that to be not an array. Sorry about that. Oops, I don't need to do that. Let's see, I could just debug that again and then run it again. Okay. I passed it in as an array and that's fine, but then it should have been a string. So let's see. Again, and I'm gonna, let's see. Please check. We got no. You in there. Debug in the editor. And we got URLs. Looks really good to me. And then we go here though. And it must still be an array. So I'm not really certain. I did some other weird research. So I'm not certain on this one. I know it's not a big deal. I know I can figure it out. You think that would make it a string. I've never tried passing in a thing there. I'm going to try doing something ahead of time here. Let's just call this vars. And I'm going to call this URLs, and I'm going to say array. I'm going to put that there, but I want to see if I can skip the work here. Let's see, concatenate. I'll go back to my favorite guy here, and we'll go concatenate. Good enough. Okay. I think that should work, and I don't need to run the whole thing again. I can just run this and see what happens. At least I got the error quicker. Subnode simple memory. Okay, so this is fine. Oh, wait, why is that? I should be using Postgres. Maybe I messed up on the other one too. Oops. Oops, oops. So now I want to go grab that other memory. Let's see, I'm gonna do it here just so I have it ready in my clipboard, and you'll see what that means in a moment. Okay. So then I'm gonna go to here, and I'm gonna just paste that there. Okay, run it again. Okay, we are getting nowhere. I don't need to do that. So now it is, because when you do a JSON, it assumes the node before, but I'm no longer using the node before. So let's do this. One moment. So let's see. Let's see, it's this guy, and then it's going to be first first JSON URLs. Okay. So we're going to go back into here and do, let's see, this. And then get rid of that. And then make that. When execute, and then we get rid of the double thing there. Okay. Try it again. So it's good to focus on the workflow that's having trouble if you can, and then bring it back to the bigger picture. It will speed up your process a lot. Sorry, we made 2 artifacts for that. I don't know if I put them in the right place, so I'm assuming they won't just show up here. Oh, they did. Garlic herb, details of recipes. One of these it just made. Let's see. Item is 3. Some of that might just be that. Garlic, title. Garlic herb, roasted chicken. Garlic herb, roasted chicken. Okay. Oh, my prompt never got worked out, but this would have been nice HTML when we're done with it. And then this would be that other thing when we're done with that. And then that. Okay. And the type is URL, so it can go through that. Okay. So let's see. That's good. All right, so that's pretty cool. That's a lot of time. Some of it was just this internet problem, whatever's going on in the world. Some of it's just work. I can't prompt my way to this, I don't think. think it would fall short. And I think you're seeing that, hopefully, that the complexity I'm able to do here is not that hard to do. And now it's just done. This particular prompt becomes a one prompt thing. So if I go back to here, and I'll let it run as I talk. So that particular prompt then leads to all of this, and you lead to this agentic flow, and you start building up these tools here that can do a lot, and you just keep adding your tools. I'll have tasks over there. Maybe the next video I'll do that. The leads I never got to, which is the one I want. And then I want to make automations. Like I want the person to say automate or email me or build a report every day, and then it will do that. So I'm going to add some automations. So there it kicked in finally with the, no, actually that didn't kick in. That is, it must have just done something from the memory, honestly, because that didn't get done yet. Okay. So this one still didn't get done because this prompt didn't go through because the world is just not working right now for the internet. But you can see the complexities here: solid, redoable, trackable, debuggable. It's good. And this could have been, see, I can't do active pieces yet because it doesn't give me this agentic flow. I could use Flowwise, to be honest. It's just habits. I got to get used to Flowwise. These could be MCPs and I could just plug them in. Just got to do it personally. I don't know though. N8N's so good. It's hard. But you can see come together. You can see the advantage of saying, okay, I'm going to keep Bolt focused on the UI. I'm going to keep Bolt focused on refreshing the screen with real-time events, smooth it out a bit. So you can see that come together too, where it can be just easier to move forward. And then let the complexity happen back and forth here. So yeah, we can do tasks, agents, automations, file uploads, and more. I might keep going on this because there's so many good examples here of patterns. So all right, I hope you hung in there. This is super long, almost an hour. I'll edit it down and I'll have an intro before this. All right, if you made it this far, great. There's a training tomorrow. If you sign up for it, see you there.